Brahman and Vaishnava. The conclusive comparison between Brahmins and Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Translated by Bhumipati Das. Continuation 5. Why should those who are Brahmins by birth, but have taken to other occupational duties, and not shown any interest in acquiring the characteristics of properly initiated Brahmins, be respected? The word bandhu generally means relatives, like one's son. But the word Brahmabandhu cannot be simply used for those who are related to Brahmins by birth. Since the word Brahmabandhu has been used in a derogatory way, such descendants of Brahmins have not accepted this designation very proudly. Women, Sudras, and Brahmabandhus all belong to a particular category that is inferior to the class of topmost Brahmins. These people have no qualification to study the Vedas. Brahmabandhus are those who are devoid of Brahminical culture, engaged in abominable activities, and Brahmins simply by birth. It is stated in the Chandogya Upanishad, translation, a Brahmabandhu, or a mere relative of a Brahmin, is one who belongs to our Brahmin community but has not studied the Vedas. End translation. Sripad Shankaracharya has commented on this verse as follows. Translation. O beautiful woman, one who has not studied the Vedas is like a mere relative of Brahmins. He calls the Brahmins his relatives, but he does not have the behavior of a Brahmin. End translation. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.4.25. Translation. The Rig, Sama, and Yajurvedas should not be recited before women, Sudras, and Dvijabandhus. End translation. One should neither kill nor award physical punishment to Brahmabandhus. This is confirmed in the following words of the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.57. Persons who are engaged in fruitive activities are less intelligent than those who have the nature of either a jnani or a bhakta. The goal of fruitive workers is to attain worldly or heavenly happiness. The majority of people in this world are inclined towards fruitive activities. Only the devotees and jnanis have become liberated from this fruitive mentality. Ordinary people are unable to realize knowledge higher than their mundane experience. The descriptions of the heavenly planets given in the Karma Shastras are for persons who are attached to the material world. Such persons are also familiar with the presence of misery. The prototype misery described in the Karma Shastras is that found on the hellish planets. It is a fact that on the strength of their pious and sinful activities, less intelligent, ordinary people who are attached to karma kanda achieve either heaven or hell in the next life, and distinction or atonement in this life. In order to attract the minds of such persons and entice them to behave in appropriate ways, various flowery exaggerations are found in the instructions of their scriptures. Then again, the condemnations are also exaggerated so that these people will not engage in sinful activities. The fear of misery, dishonor, and condemnation stops many of these people from becoming degraded. In this way, such persons are regulated by required atonements and by hell and other punishments. The glories, prestige, and prowess of the Brahmins are profusely sung in the scriptures. Similarly, the excellence of Brahmins when they are qualified and their degraded condition when they are disqualified are also found described in the same scriptures. Such principles need to be prescribed for those who are directed by the ideas of relative good and bad. in order to minimize the disappointment of the cripple-minded, incapable, weak, foolish, fearful Brahmabandhus, we can respectfully quote a few statements from the scriptures. The Mahabharata Vanaparva states, translation, Brahmins are like burning fire. Therefore, even if they do not study the Vedas, even if they act as priests for those who should not perform Vedic sacrifices, or even if they accept charity from low-class people, they are not at fault. Whether Brahmins possess knowledge of the Vedas or are devoid of knowledge of the Vedas, whether they are worldly or have undergone the reformatory processes, they do not deserve to be disrespected, for they are like fire covered by ashes. As the bright fire of the funeral pyre is not considered impure, a Brahmin, whether foolish or learned, is not faulty. End translation. Parasara says, translation, the predominant religious principles of a particular age are followed by Brahmins, who are twice born according to those principles. According to the time, therefore, such Brahmins should not be condemned. End translation. The purpose of these statements found in the scriptures is to somehow minimize the unfortunate condition of the incapable living entities. But those who fall down from the position of real Brahmins, with the help of these statements, destroy the religious principles. Brihaspati says, translation, one should not conclude that the statements meant to minimize the disappointment of unqualified persons who are unable to follow the real instructions of the Dharma-shastras comprise the actual purport of the scriptures. End translation. The statements of Parasara, the narrations of the Mahabharata, and other such authoritative sources are just like lamps of hope for those whose desires are thwarted in the kingdom of hopelessness. If one carefully considers, then he will understand that the aim of the scriptures is to minimize the hopelessness of the living entities, encourage them to behave better in the future, uplift the non-Brahmins to the level of Brahmins, and prevent the further degradation of non-Brahmins. The compilers of the scriptures did not ever intend to block the living entity's path of progress and perfection. That is why the most intelligent Brihaspati Mahashaya has said that one should not ascertain the conclusion by simply reading the scriptures, because if one considers without proper reasoning, he becomes irreligious. A compiler of Dharma-shastras, Vishnu 71:1, states as follows, quote, do not disrespect anyone, end quote. A person should not in any way disregard or condemn even the lowest class of men in this world, what to speak of the Brahmins, who are the highest class. A person who commits or insults another certainly commits a sin. Even to hide the real truth for the benefit of the world is also a sign of cheating. The Mahabharata Vanaparva has established that simplicity is the only identification of a Brahmin. Therefore, we find that by influence of this extraordinary quality, the ideals of simplicity are found in scriptures that are written by Brahmins. Neutrality is the ornament of the simple-minded Brahmins. A Brahmin proves his simplicity by opening his heart and speaking the truth, even if it hampers his own self-interest. Wherever there is a lack of simplicity, one should know there is no question of a Brahminical culture. The statements of the Vedas, the practical ritual textbooks, the Dharma-shastras, the Puranas, the Itihasas, the Patalas, and other literatures, compiled in a spirit of simplicity by the sages, are meant only for the benefit of the people of the world, not for condemning or insulting incapable persons. When neutral, thoughtful persons who follow the authority of these scriptures disclose the real purport of the Dharma-shastras to ignorant, selfish people than those who try to hamper the prestige of such truthful persons and safeguard their own interests, like low-class people, by publicly criticizing the Shastras and the speaker of the Shastras, are cowards and violators of religious principles. If someone blasphemes the Vedas, the ritual textbooks that follow the Vedic version, the Dharma Shastras, the Puranas, the Tantras, as well as neutral speakers of the truth, and think that this will enhance the prestige of degraded persons like themselves, then honest fruitive workers will never approve. Let the Brahmins become purely Brahminical, and let the prestige of the Brahmins who have actually become Brahminical remain intact forever. This is the intention of the Shastras and the speakers of the Shastras. They never want to condemn the Brahmins. We are also of this opinion. One should not engage in the sin of criticizing Brahmins like low-class, selfish proponents of argumentative views who hanker after high prestige. Rather, one should study the following verses of Manu. There is no use of gaining prestige from such people. The Manava Dharma Shastra 2, 162-163 says, Translation: Throughout his life, a Brahmin should consider material prestige to be like poison, and dishonor to be like nectar. After all, if one learns to tolerate dishonor, then his agitation will subside, and he will happily sleep, happily wake, and happily move about. The person who insults him will, as a result of his sin, become embarrassed, and his happiness in this and the next life will be vanquished. End translation. Religious principles stood on 4 legs in Satya-yuga, on 3 legs in Treta-yuga, and on 2 legs in Dvapara-yuga, and on only 1 leg in Kali-yuga. The Brahmins, who are the priests of these religious principles, also become proportionately degraded. If one ascribes the prestige of a Satya-yuga Brahmin to a Kali-yuga Brahmin, the result is simply a distortion of the truth. If one offers a Brahmin more respect than he deserves, then the glories of he who offers the respect will increase, and the respected Brahmin's affection for him will increase. But if a respected Brahmin forgets his actual position out of pride, then when he remembers the following statement from the Vishnu Yamala, he will be agitated and lose sleep at night, as previously confirmed by Manu. When those Brahmins who know the condemnations of the Vishnu Yamala hear such things, they should keep their mouths shut. The Yamala says, Translation: The Brahmins born in Kali-yuga are impure and no better than Sudras. End translation. In Kali-yuga, or the age of quarrel, seminal lines are not pure, so those born as Brahmins are equal to Sudras, qualified only in name. Such Brahmins cannot be purified by Vedic rituals. Rather, they can be purified by following the Tantras.